All In is done and dusted, and the wrestling world now awaits the fallout of the final countdown. New champs, new faces, new moments, all bringing an end to the summer madness. Now, with 25% more banter, it's FWP.
You're listening to the soon-to-be-named network, the Lamborghini of podcast networks. FWP, so good I listen weekly. Welcome to Final Wrestling Place.
I'm Tim.
Oh, I'm still Marcus.
And thank you again so much for joining us, episode 266 of Final Wrestling Place. And joining us however you can join us, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, through the soon-to-be-named network at soon-to-be-named-network.tumblr.com. So very thrilled that you're with us on this audio adventure. Be sure to follow us on social media, on Twitter at TNM Shows, on Instagram at Final Wrestling Place. And if you are a YouTube connoisseur, go ahead, like the video, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you don't miss anything over at youtube.com. Ring that bell at youtube.com/at Final Wrestling Place. Like all the videos. This week, FWP is a day late, but we are not $1 short. We have a lot of things to cover, including the fallout from All In, a fallen legend, a return of a classic, and of course, as promised, 25% more banter here on at least this week of the show. Marcus, you've been taken to task across the entire internet, or at least the soon-to-be-named network. Like, there's Black Twitter, and then I guess there's the soon-to-be-named network pocket sphere. You have been taken to task, for sure, on your hard stance against friendly banter. Against
my friendly banter.
Against
my friendly banter. Or if I'm listening to podcasts where I am not familiar or don't wish to be really familiar with the host. It doesn't mean I haven't stopped listening. Between the sheets, right? I don't know Chris. I don't know Bix. I've listened for years. But if the banter goes any more than 30 seconds, it's a skip. And skip, that's just me. That's how I get down.
Yeah.
So I put that on me. I put that policy on me. Now, I don't ever flip it to think about, oh, we have people that would like to hear about us and what's going on in our lives and our friendship. I don't think that way. My mind is just meat and potatoes. Get to the value. No appetizer. So we're here to provide a little bit of appetizer. And also, truth is, like, if I don't think I've had anything interesting really to talk about, then, like, I'm not going to, like, just talk to talk. Because I think there's a difference between, like, good discussion points and, like, not good discussion points. And, like, just because something happened doesn't mean it's a good talking point.
Right.
You know, I might have done something exciting, but it's not a good talking point.
Right, I get it. You do not want to manufacture banter for the sake of having banter. Is that what I'm getting? Is that what I'm picking up what you're putting down?
Yeah.
You want it to be organic, homegrown.
Right. Yeah. Not enhanced. But we actually do have something here.
We do.
To talk about. We had a great time. We got to enjoy each other's company quite a bit this weekend. So let's catch everybody up on what we're up to, my guy.
It might be the most we've seen each other over a weekend since we lived together.
Yeah, definitely pre-COVID.
It's borderline crazy how much we've seen each other this weekend. So we'll start at the very beginning because that's a very good place to start. Our Friday, we were one of the thousands and thousands at Hershey Park Stadium to catch their leg of the Summer of '99 tour. featuring Finger 11, Three Doors Down, and the headliner Creed. And I'm not taking any questions on whether any of those bands are good. You can save the discussion as to whether or not those bands are good. We paid good hard money, and I had fun, so they're good.
Here's what is not up for debate. It gave us joy. Yes,
and I'm in the joy business, so it was so much fun. There was definitely I won't count the number of people in so there was 8 people in our group. And I would say a percentage of us were had our experiences heightened by some mood enhancers, quote unquote. Mood.
I had a pretzel. What did you have?
I had a pretzel too. But
okay.
I had.
Was that it? I wasn't feeling that good after my pretzel.
What did you say? Feel good candy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My consortium got me these chewable candies that taste like Fireball. So it's the taste of cinnamon really activates the taste buds and even farther allows you to feel the music. It's for a limited time run. So it maybe lasts until like 4 hours. But what a 4 hours it was. Sometimes if you eat your feel good candy too soon, you start feeling good too soon, and you have a difficult time finding your way into your seats at the stadium. But then you have your good brother who sees the words you have written in the prophecy, and he gives you that good predator brother handshake, just clap, pull you in, sit down, me, you, and your consortium, enjoying all the music they're in. It was a good time, man. Finger 11 was cool. I feel bad. Shout out to the lead singer of Finger 11, because boy, he was trying. He was really trying to work on crowd engagement. He didn't give up on it. He was a borderline sad boy because nobody was popping for anything he was saying.
A self-deprecating sad boy. It was really good.
It became funny because we were all in on the joke. Like, he was making the joke. It wasn't like he wasn't like trying to be down on himself, but it was just like people are filing into the venue still. So he's like, "You guys excited?" And like nobody's there. And there's like, "Are you ready for Three Doors Down?" And like people pop. And then like you say Creed, and more people pop. And like they opened with a 7-song set, and the first 5 songs, unless you are okay. If fans of Twice are once, then fans of Finger 11 are 5 1/2sies. Is that
I was going to say Finger Twice.
You don't say that.
No. Oh.
Marcus.
No?
No.
All right.
They're 5 1/2sies.
No? Oh, okay.
I don't want to say Finger Twice. See,
what's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong with it. It's just
okay.
It might be that might be the closest we're going to get to a Blue Chew ad here on the podcast.
Oh, you pervert!
I'm not. I'm a little bit naughty. We're jumping.
I've got a naughty side, bruv.
That's right, bruv.
Yeah.
But they play the 5 songs that nobody hears. Of course, they do the traditional band thing of, "We got a new song we want you to hear." Nobody cares. New songs at a concert, to me, is how you feel about banter on a podcast.
Right.
Unless I'm dialed into you as a musician, I don't want to hear your new stuff. And like, I like Finger 11. I can name 3 whole Finger 11 songs, and they played 2 of them. And it was the last two songs in the set. And so they play their songs, and they get to song 6. And song 6 is One Thing, which is song 1 of the wrestling triumvirate we heard through all 3 of the shows. So they start playing One Thing, and the crowd pops. And then they play Paralyzer, and the crowd pops even more. And you just see the look on the lead singer's eyes just die, because you know that he poured his heart and soul into those first 5 songs, and then he plays these last 2, and the crowd is coming, and he's like, they just wanted us to play the monkey music. They don't want us for our art. They want us for the radio hits. This sucks.
Jingle those keys, baby.
That's right. We're all here
Jangle.
Monkeys with cymbals running around waiting for Paralyzer and One Thing. But One Thing, of course, is the tribute song for Chris Benoit. I think I had them confused, and then you straightened me out in the car.
Yeah, that's correct. That is the Benoit song.
Yes. Before we knew what happened.
Before some of us knew what happened.
Regal knew. God bless Regal. He's like, you're not going to get me on tape in infinitum talking about how tragic this is. I would love a break. Anyways. Right?
I hope there's a documentary about that someday.
Of just Regal?
No, I want
everybody.
The whole, everybody.
The vibe at the building?
People did the check. I'm not talking about Dark Side of the Ring.
You want like an actual real...
I want an actual real documentary. Into the Weeds. Nothing left on the cutting room floor. Speaking
of Into the Weeds, I pulled up Netflix today. I'm getting ready to make myself more comfortable going into Netflix to watch WWE Raw later in a few months. But there's 2 murder documentaries now on Netflix that you need to watch. Right. One is a Netflix Untold, the murder of Air McNair, talking about Steve McNair's murder.
Okay.
And the other is the Lacey Peterson story.
Gotcha. All right, I've seen the Lacey Peterson pop up for me as a recommendation.
Yep. Yes. So yeah, I know
you are. I don't have a good grip on what all happened.
Well,
I know everything.
Right.
I just can't make heads or tails of who or what.
Well, you will. Once you watch the documentary, you will. Okay. Unfortunately, you have dedicated a lot of your time and effort into 2 specific categories of thought. The first thing that you know more about than most people is professional wrestling. 2,
thank you.
A very close to, though, is the John Benet Ramsey case.
A very close to is
very close.
Yeah.
The only thing you know how to do better than restructure a match is tell me why it was her brother. Like,
yeah. Allegedly.
Yes.
I don't know. I might have changed. I'm not sure.
Ooh.
I'm rethinking some things. Yeah.
We may line it up for next week's banter section. But we get to 3 Doors Down. 3 Doors Down was fun. I've always been a 3 Doors Down fan. But if there was any question as to what type of band 3 Doors Down was, they removed all doubt. Because while I'm on my mood enhancers, in the middle of the set, the lead singer just starts taking us to #church. And
you were getting preached at.
We were all getting preached at.
We were all, but you especially, since you were feeling good.
Hey, man.
You probably felt extra.
God is joy, man. God is love. God is life. So is football.
Yeah.
But
they were preaching about not so much God, but country, right? and God a little bit.
They said
they definitely
Jesus
had some
Christ
God in there.
on stage.
That's right. Jesus did get a shout out.
Yeah, big Jehovah.
That's right. So yeah, they did some preaching. The vibes were very much like Wednesday night youth group.
Yeah, where you get to wear jeans to church.
Yeah, all sweaty from playing basketball beforehand.
Yeah, like you definitely had youth group before.
But they played the hits. The hits were hits.
Yeah. They played.
They overstayed their welcome
Not My Time
just a little bit for me, but
13 songs for
that was lengthy.
Considering that Creed did 14.
Yeah.
But
I was good with like 8. I was good with like 8.
I could have done 10. You could have pulled some stuff out of the middle. Give me like 7, then 10, then 14. But like they hit us with a lot of the hits. They hit us with Not My Time, Loser, Here Without You, Away from the Sun. And then of course they play When I'm Gone, and they play that Superman song, Kryptonite, which was fun. Really cool. I enjoyed that tremendously. Maybe more on that on At Odds with Wrestling this week. Don't know. Maybe I'm telling a story to get a story out of Joe on the podcast in a couple of days. But Three Doors Down was cool, and then we got Creed, and Scott Stapp was on one. Like, he's got his life all together. He's locked in, ready to rock, ready to roll. Good stuff. They closed out with like 4 bangers.
Yeah, bangers only at the end, man.
Yeah,
it was a strong like 20 minutes.
They hit us with Arms Wide Open, Higher, One Last Breath, and My Sacrifice at the end of the concert. Boy, howdy. Yeah. What a way to come off my mood enhancers.
Yeah.
Coming down and just singing a Desire theme.
Coming down, but also going up.
Can You Take Me Higher?
What a way. Yeah, man. I was belting it. What a great finish. They're great. I thought all 3 bands were actually really good, like live. You know, some bands are, studio bands. Some bands are live. Like, they were great, but it's also like, oh, these are pros who've been doing this for like 30 years. Like, Of course, they're really good. So it was just cool to see, like, as I guess, get older, I like really appreciate just seeing like levels of expertise at something. Like, even if like I don't even care for Three Doors Down necessarily, but like seeing how they know themselves,
right?
And they have perfected that. Like, right. I respect that, and I find an interest in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a really great concert, man. Really great concert. I had a great time. It takes us to Saturday, right?
It does. It does. By the way, as an aside, if anybody in the NEPA area wants to meet us halfway, this entire set, I think the entire group is playing again at the PPL Center in Allentown. So if you guys want to make the trip, we'll meet halfway. I got more mood enhancers. We can go on a spirit journey together if you want. Just let me know. Maybe we can talk. But that gets us to Saturday. Saturday, we link up again and we catch up with friends of the podcast, Big Jim, Matt, and the whole allotment. Big Jim and Matt from 3 Count Thursday, 3CT, 3 Count Thursday on Facebook, all across. Always the number, never the word. But we met up with our in-person, super official fantasy football draft.
Yeah. Big Jim don't play.
That was fun.
It was fun. Before I have a story here to interject, but before my story, I want you to think about, because I know people probably don't care about our full draft team, but who was your keeper? Who was your first round pick?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the pick you're most proud of?
Okay.
Just think about those three.
Sure. Go ahead. Good. I'll pull that up while you give your story.
While we're at the draft, there's somebody, I won't name her. She probably doesn't ask me name, but this person, we don't have assigned seats. It's, get in where you fit in. But the last several years, we have ended up on across from each other at the table. And usually we just talk a whole bunch of junk back and forth. And it's once a year. And it's a nice little tradition that's been built. And a lot of times we're joking on other people. And it's great. And this time she's sitting there. It's her and her husband, and they're sitting there, and they start making some wise cracks about my Kansas City Chiefs, namely Travis Kelce. And she had uttered some foolishness, quite honestly, about how Travis Kelce isn't going to be good this season. Now, if you want to say he's not going to be good this season because he's 34, 35 years old, I can entertain that. Right, he's probably going to get revved up as the season goes to be in prime form as we go get our third Super Bowl in a row, unprecedented. I can entertain that. But what I can't entertain is when somebody says, yeah, Travis Kelce isn't going to be good this season because he's going to be distracted by his girlfriend. To which I said, they were together for the entirety of last season. Well, the reply was, I think it's just going to be different. I think he's going to be distracted. And I was like, he's like 34 or 35 years old. He's not like a middle schooler, like a grown professional, like one of the best two at his position of all time. Well, no, I think he's just going to be distracted. And that was the only thing. I was like, but last season, they actually had a tournament of the best teams with the best records. And she was at most of those games, culminating in the best two teams that survive all that. They actually play a game to determine who is the best team for the year.
What is it
It's called the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl. Might have heard of it.
No.
But she was there too. And wouldn't you know it, he had a great game. Not distracted at all. And we even won it again. So you can't just say things, especially when not to get football nerdy here, but the Chiefs offense is way better this season compared to last season. So there's actually two speed threats that are going to be on the field at all times, extending the field. So Travis Kelce isn't going to get double teamed like he got all of last season. He's going to be in one-on-one coverage. You want to put him up against a slow linebacker, or do you want to put him up against a safety or a corner and he's going to eat their lunch and just bully them? You pick your poison. Yeah, Travis Kelce's probably going to have a lot of 6-7 catch games back to 80 to 100 yards. Just a little food for thought there. Anyways, that was my main point of contention for the evening. I turned back around and focused on my draft, focused on my paper, focused on what I think is a championship caliber team.
Yes.
So, Mr. Tim, since we're here talking about the teams, who was your keeper?
My keeper was Justin Jefferson, Minnesota Vikings. All right. Not thrilled at all with having to keep him. Last season, while I was very successful in the soon-to-be named, the one and only season, I guess, of the soon-to-be-named Network Fantasy Football League, I did struggle a little bit in this league. I had the third pick in the keeper league. So that just gives you an idea on the gristle that I had as a manager of this team. So my keeper was Justin Jefferson. My first round pick, I was like, all right, I'm in a good spot. I could actually draft a keeper with one of these first picks. Because not everybody can keep everybody, right? There's going to be a lot of riches that get thrown on the table. And So I ended up taking with my first overall pick, Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Detroit Lions. And I found myself very interested or in an interesting position. The next question you have is, who was I most proud of getting? I don't know if I have a most proud, because I did a lot of I did quite a bit of homework for this draft, and as I was going through my my studying, I ran across a video about an alternative fantasy football strategy, where you load up, especially if you play in a league like we do, where it's one quarterback, three receivers, a tight end, a wide receiver, running back, tight end, flex, and two running backs. Loading up on 4 really great receivers, an elite quarterback, and an elite tight end. And then loading up on like committee running backs in the back half of your draft. Like just immediately conceding, okay, running back is not going to be your thing, but you're going to have at least 4 horses on the field at all times. Right? And so like my running back, my wide receiver room is full with Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cooper Kupp, plus Jalen Reed and Scary Terry. I've got all 5 of them on my team. Number one receivers anywhere in the world, right? So, and then I had to fill up with a little bit of some gristle at running back. Not gristle, but like it's a lot of flyers on players who are in like by committee standards. The only one I didn't take that's really not really by committee is Gus Edwards out of Los Angeles. But I'm playing the injury. I'm rolling the injury dice on him. But you know, all in all, it's good. My legacy though is that I made the entire draft talk about Justin Tucker the entire draft. So much so that I made somebody take Justin Tucker in the 8th round of a 16-round draft. Go ahead.
For a little context here, if you're not a football person, Justin Tucker probably going to go down as the greatest kicker in NFL history.
Correct.
He's the most accurate. Plays for the Baltimore Ravens. They play a lot of close games. They play a lot of low-scoring games, but they kick a lot of field goals, especially when you have the best of all time on your team. So Justin Tucker, extremely valuable, despite the kicker label being somewhat of a joke in most fantasy football formats.
And I'm a firm believer in kickers, but I definitely inflated the cost of Justin Tucker quite a bit over the last 2 seasons. And if you remember my championship winning team on the soon to be named network fantasy football draft, I did draft Justin Tucker really high and I won. So there, but yeah, it was just really interesting to see everybody kind of go into it. And honestly, like my plan was to not take Justin Tucker, to be completely honest, because he does really well when Lamar is injured. When Lamar's on the field, he doesn't kick as many field goals because they're scoring touchdowns.
Right.
So I am banking on Lamar to have a healthy season where Justin Tucker is not having
as
to
needed,
to kick them from behind.
Right.
So, but that is it. What about you? Who was your keeper? Who was your first overall pick, and who were you most proud of drafting?
My keeper is Jamar Chase. So I was happy to be able to get a top 3 wide receiver. Just get him in. Don't think about it. That's my keeper. With my first pick, Jonathan Taylor was sitting right there. And I'm usually not a running back first kind of person. Usually I like to take the first receiver off the board if I can. But Jonathan Taylor was sitting right there. I said, all right, if I can get a top receiver, top running back, I'm not going to be mad at it. So I got Jonathan Taylor. And then the pick that I'm most proud of, looking at my roster, it's actually in what was for us 13th round, but really the 14th round out of 15 or 16. And that is Matthew Stafford. I was able to get him way, way late. Ideally, he was going to be my backup quarterback, but then I thought about it, and I'm like, if this dude does nothing but throw for like 2 touchdowns and 300 yards every single game in a pass-heavy and pass-first offense. So, yeah, I think that was a good pickup. We'll see. But that's the one I was most proud of. I thought that was a good late pull. Especially when we are in a half PPR league. So if you're not going to get a scrambling quarterback, Caleb Williams is my other quarterback, but he's probably going to have to prove it a little bit first over the vet like Matt Stafford. So it's good to get a quarterback who's going to have those high passing yards, high amount of completions, and put some touchdowns up on the board.
Very much so.
That was our Saturday.
Yes.
And we saw each other again just, what was that, about 16 hours later?
Not even. Closer to like 14.
Yeah.
Because we had an early morning making the trip out to the soon-to-be-named Network North for some All In action. That was a ton of fun catching up with the boys, the At Odds boys, the We Need Wrestling boys. It was a dude's day in the sun watching wrestling in the sunlight. It was awesome. No mood enhancers needed. But it was definitely a good time. Shout out to Brett on the tasty brekkie. Those sandwiches were bussin'. I loved it. I had so much.
Amazing.
I had a meat mountain sandwich. It was awesome.
Amazing. We also missed the presence of Miss Tatum. She was putting on an amazing event. Shout out Cuts for Kids going back to school, helping out families, haircuts free of charge. I thought that was a super awesome thing to do. So yeah, shout out to her. Super successful event going down at her salon.
And the Royal
but her
Rumbler
presence was
herself.
definitely missed.
Yeah.
And the Royal Rumbler was there for the hot tag. So we missed both of them. I definitely prefer watching wrestling with both of them around for
100%.
the extra comments. But yeah, it was dudes only. It was a great time. I am an old man now. Like I really like daytime wrestling. I like being around my friends when I'm awake and not on the come down. So yeah, man. Awesome time as always. Thanks to everybody for hosting us, for having us. Wonderful to see everybody. Get to spend some FaceTime with people.
Yes.
Took us a long time to get home. I think there was a road closure or some road work, so we got rerouted. Drive home ended up taking like closer to 3 hours. Didn't love that. Add on an extra hour plus for you to get back to your home. So that takes us to why there was no Final Wrestling Place drop this morning as we record Monday morning. Our plan and intent was to record Final Wrestling Place once Tim got back to his place. But by the time I made back to my place, it was just way too late. So we packed it in, but we're here now to deliver an episode, a little Tuesday morning delight for you. But before we do that, Mr. Tim, we got some sad news today.
We did. And we're not talking about the untimely passing of Mariah Carey's mom and sister, which also happened today. But we're talking about someone who should absolutely have already been in the WWE Hall of Fame. Multiple-time world champion, just an icon of the sport, and probably on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling softball players. It is, you can call him vicious, you can call him justice, but we love him as Sycho Sid. And unfortunately, he succumbed to his battle with cancer at 63 today. And it really sucks because over the last couple of weeks, I know I'd been seeing Sid on social media like pushing to go into the Hall of Fame. Like I'd really love to go into the Hall of Fame before before it's too late, right? There's too many times where you think of Vader, right? A guy who probably also should have been in the Hall of Fame a little sooner, but unfortunately we have to wait until his passing and then he goes in. And unfortunately now Sid is right there. But we are definitely connected to Sid as being wrestling fans of a certain age. We grew up with wrestling during his heyday. With the run, I don't remember too much as a kid. I don't remember too much of like Sid's first run in WCW, like with the Horsemen and with the with Dan Spivey. Like I don't recall much of that as a kid.
Right, because a lot of that's 89 and 90, so right. we're pretty young.
Yeah, like you're a figment, and I'm just dust at that point. But we really get into it like WrestleMania 8 with and the Royal Rumble 92. Sid Justice is like proliferating through the WWE, and like it says something that like Sid Hogan main events WrestleMania on the same card that like Flair's defending the title against Sid or against Savage. And it's like, yes, that spot is Hogan's, but if he's not across from a guy like Sid, it's less believable to make that a main event match. But Sid is an amazing big man. I don't know for sure. Like, I watch and I've seen enough, but like, at least for you, how much of an inspiration or how much tape study does someone who is a big man, how much should they be doing on like the life and times of Sid Vicious Justice?
Sid Insane Justice is how I got introduced to him really in that 92 run, 91, 92 run. He was one of the first guys I watched when I was like becoming a professional wrestler and looking to study guys. And he's such a good squash guy. He's in this, he's an all-time squash guy. Might be the best ever. Like him and Razor. There's a couple others. But there's more to do in a squash match than just hitting cool moves. There's more to doing a squash match than just winning quickly or decisively. And Sid was able to become a master of that formula. And that's why he was so good at it almost instantly. And for being a big guy and for people saying, oh, he wasn't the greatest wrestler when I, hold for hold or mechanically or whatever. I think I could be wrong off the top of my head, but like save, except for the low cage at the 91 War Games in Phoenix or Glendale. Besides that incident, I can't think of a time where Sid hurt somebody else. Like for all of the cool, impressive, dangerous looking things he did, look at those power bombs. Like he switches his grip. He makes sure he has control of the guy before he drops him. Granted, it's a big drop, so sometimes some things can go awry, but like he did everything in his power to make sure that somebody was gonna land in the same condition as they went up. And again, there is an art to that. You will see some of the best wrestlers in the world not be able to do that, and that is because there is more to it than just being big and strong. So that was something I always looked at and wanted to strive for, and really took away from him was he put you up and he put you down safely, and it looked dope. And I'm sure, Wynn probably got knocked out of a couple job guys. But always like that about Sid. Talk about charisma. Talk about the it factor. Like, you can't teach it. You can't manufacture it. You can't learn it. He just had it. And he had it from the first time we see him on WCW TV. He tags in and he does a club or two to a guy's back and he tags out and the crowd is going nuts. He maintained that throughout the entirety of his career. The other thing about Sid, again, you can say, oh, not the best wrestler, this or that, or not enough 5-star matches. Sid was able to instantly get over and connect with every live crowd that he performed in front of, no matter what territory or what company or what era it was in. He's in the remnants, the dust of NWA, early WCW in 89. He gets over. He's there during the end of the golden era in 91, 92 WWF. He gets over so quickly. Less than a year, he's main eventing WrestleMania with Hogan, as you said. His first pay-per-view, he's in the match made in hell as the referee. He's a huge part of the Savage Snake Man storyline, saving Savage, and unfortunately tears his bicep, so he misses a bunch of time. The 92 Rumble. You think of that Royal Rumble, it's 3 people, right? It's Flair, it's Hogan, it's Sid. Of all the people in that match, for all the luminaries in there, Sid stood out. Sid's the guy that's over in that match more than anybody. And that's crazy. The crowd. It's not like Hogan stunk in 90 and 91. I think that's like a misconception. When he comes back from getting the big squisher by Earthquake, Hogan is still on an incredible run. And he's getting great live reactions. That didn't change until he was put across from Sid. That's how cool Sid is. He goes back to WCW in 93, right before, the pre-Hogan era. And he's over again. And he's in there against Sting and Davey Boy Smith. And he's supposed to be world champion. And then the stabbing incident happens with Arn. And he gets sent home for good for a bit. But he picks back up in Memphis. He's back doing local indies and stuff like that. And he's over there. Some of that work is out there. He's over. When he comes back to WWF in 95, and he's introduced as Shawn Michaels' bodyguard. Again, different era. Instantly over. Instantly over. To the point where it's like, maybe the match should be Diesel and Sid. And the Shawn thing's just kind of like, we got to get through this to get to Diesel Sid to run that. When he comes back again in 96 as like the special surprise to sub in for Warrior Man, who went missing. That might be the most over he ever is, like that 96-97 run. He goes to Madison Square Garden. It's not like Shawn Michaels was getting booed out of buildings exactly in 1996, even though it was a bit underwhelming. The company ran with Shawn Michaels. Majority of the fans accepted Shawn Michaels as the champion. It was all feel good until he was across the ring from Sid. All that changed. All that changed. He's there in the beginning of the Attitude Era in 97. fits like a glove. He's over. Main event's WrestleMania 13. Amongst all that turmoil, with everything going on, with people in and out of the card, Sid's there, and they give him the rock. They give him the ball. And he goes in there and has the match with Undertaker. And yeah, again, well, not a great match, whatever. But Sid's there, and he's over with a budding Steve Austin and Bret Hart reaching his height of powers, and Shawn in and out with pussyfoot injuries and losing his smile. And Triple H, who hadn't gotten over yet, and Undertaker and Mankind and Vader and all these stars, Davey, Owen, Sid's the man. Go to WCW, the Millennium Man. Over. ECW run. Over. Bring him back for the Raw thing with Heath Slater.
Yes.
Over. And had several generations removed from like a crowd that had really last seen Sid.
Right.
It had been well over 10 years since he'd been on WWF programming. Over. So, again, there is, whether it's an art, whether it's an inherent gift, whatever it is, Sid had it. And that is something I think that every wrestler should be able to strive for. Sid got over in front of every audience, every company, every live crowd.
Right.
First time. And maintained it. And that is something. Doesn't matter how good of a wrestler you are the 5-star matches. Again, you can't teach that. You can't learn that. That can't be manufactured. It can't be passed on. It can't be sponged up. He just had it. So he's probably the most pro wrestler that there ever was. I love Sid, man. I love Sid. This one hurts. This one sucks.
Yeah.
But it's really cool that, from all accounts, he was able to end his life and those later years with his kids and his grandkids. And the story's getting out about how Sid didn't really get around to a lot of conventions, turned a lot of bookings down. Not just because of the Trump travel ban, but because of he wanted to hang out with his grandkids. And like, that's awesome. So the fact that like Sid could see this end to his life, and again, with cancer, like, not ideal, absolutely sucks. Not in his control, but the way that he was able to close out his life kind of on his terms, not reaching the death, the end that most wrestlers have, right? Being found in whatever town you're in because you're late to something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not being found by housekeeping. Like, that is such a huge success. And that he was able to survive that time, which has just eaten up so many guys. The fact that Sid wasn't one of those numbers is incredible. So, kudos to him. Thoughts and prayers with the family, and all other Sid fans, man. Because again, kind of no matter what era of wrestling, if you watched between the late 80s and the early 2000s, you saw Sid at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And he was awesome.
Yeah, I'm curious if anybody's checked in on Josh Bishop today. I know I personally reached out to our number one Sid fan, Aaron, over at the North South Connection. I think I was the first person actually broke the news to him. Because I texted him like, "Hey man, did you hear the news?" He goes, "What news?" And he goes, "Oh, I think I just saw it." And I was like, "Yeah man, whole thing sucks." And of course he's like, "It's bogus," and just like immediately you're
shut up.
You're taken to a time. Shut up. I think that's what he said to me at first. But Sid's remarkable. I actually went back and watched the Survivor Series 96 intro again.
Mm-hmm.
That entrance, man. Oh, visually stunning. It is a time capsule moment. Just lock it up, put it away, bury it, unearth it in 100 years and say, that's wrestling. Like just
Yeah.
Sid
There's
fist bumping
no special
everybody.
videos,
Nope.
no special effects, no live band, just a man walking to the ring with 20,000+ people chanting his name. That's Sid.
And again, that whole
yeah,
crowd
man.
to erupt by just standing there, putting his arms there and going, "Who's the man?" It's like he is like the epitome of like minimum. I don't want to say this is a negative, but like Sid is minimum effort, maximum results. Like, he wasn't setting the world on fire with, like, he wasn't coming up with a brand new catchphrase. He wasn't a words guy. He wasn't a moves guy. But he, like, everything he did was, like, simple, effective, high success rate.
High intensity.
Cash it.
That's everything that's missing is, like, it is tough being intense. And he was intense, bell to bell. And he knew where that camera was at all times. So yeah, man, a true star, a true bummer. But that takes us to our blind rankings, Mr. Tim, which is obviously Sid themed for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and lead off with your blind rankings. I'm gonna ask you to rank these 5 Sid moments blindly, of course. So your first one out of the gate is Sid powerbombing Shawn Michaels after WrestleMania 11. The Raw after Mania, WrestleMania 11.
That's a great Raw moment. I remember the powerbomb so good. Diesel coming out and making the save after the fact. Making everybody kind of remember the two dudes with attitudes. This Sid moment is really high on my list, but I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to put it at 3.
All right.
Because there are a couple of other Sid moments that I'm putting above it, and I hope they're on your list.
All right. From, I believe, the Goldberg feud, it is Sid jumping onto his squished car from WCW.
That's easily.
Why me?
That's so good. I'm putting that at 2. That is an iconic Sid moment where he's just jumping up and down on like the equivalent of a crushed can.
With the gym bag.
Yeah. Like just walking, like boop a doop doo doop doo. Where's my car? No, why me? Wow!
Right.
Just throwing a
Next
temper
up,
tantrum on his car.
From the build up to WrestleMania 8, it is the bogus WrestleMania 8 press conference.
1.
What you did, Jack Tunney, was the most bogus.
It's so quotable.
From a couple of weeks before, the 1992 Royal Rumble, specifically the post-match stare down and confrontation with him and Hogan, quote, "I'll kill you."
I'm putting that at 5. If only we had known that Sid was actually trying to do us a favor and end Bad Terry before he could get worse. We didn't know what we knew, but I'll put it at 5.
All right. And which means de facto number 4 for you. It is Sid hitting Jose Lothario with a camera.
Yes.
At Survivor Series 1996.
That's a really good number 4. For the list you gave me, that's a really good number 4.
All right. So 5 for you. I'll kill you, Hogan, Rumble 92. 4, Sid hitting Jose Lothario, Survivor Series 1996. 3, Sid powerbombing Shawn Michaels on the Raw after WrestleMania 11. 2, Sid jumping on a squish car. Why me? And number 1 is bogus.
Yes. I do have to go to honorable mentions that don't necessarily put Sid in the best light, but they are definitely quotable. One of which is the backstage vignette during an In Your House where he needs to do a retake. And he goes, hold on a second. And Jim Ross goes, we're live, pal. And Sid's like, you get all your answers to your questions tonight. And that's it. Second of all, birds will fall. You know where I'm going with this one. You are half the man I am, and I have half the brain that you do. Amazing. Like, you know where he was going. Mm-hmm. And he just, the words, again, he's not a wordsman. They got all wrapped up, bundled up, couldn't do it. Right? So, but yeah, a nice little bow to put on Sid. Go out and watch some Sid matches. Watch that War Games match where Sid does a murder on Lexus King's dad. That's super cool. Find those promo videos of the Masters of the Powerbomb versus Sting and Davey Boy with the speedboat. Like, yes, that's good stuff. What else is a good Sid moment that, like, people go back and watch that Heath Slater Legends run. We'll do the digging for you, because that's definitely a lost time in wrestling history. A lot of fans were gone. So we can definitely give you the dig on that, and we'll post it on our social media, giving you guys where to look for it. Just Sid's great, and we always do this. It feels like we always say this when somebody passes away, right? Enjoy who you enjoy while you can enjoy them, and don't wait until you can't enjoy them anymore to give them their flowers. Right? Like, really embrace what you love, drink it all in, stop focusing on the bad stuff, unless it's Sasha Banks, and then, like, that's it. Right? I'm shifting gears back on topic, and this is a lead into our next segment. But Marcus, your blind ranking is the returns and surprises of All In.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So you are going to rank how you would rank the however you want to do for the returns and debuts of All In 2024.
All right, I'm ready.
And we're going to start with the easiest layup, the Sting.
1.
Really?
1. Okay. Yeah. Had a feeling because they went out of his way not to mention him on TV. And I was like, something's up there. Yes. And even back at his retirement, when Tony mentioned Wembley, old Stinger, old real estate Steve, old legend at the ATM himself, eyebrows perked up a little bit. He said, a Wembley payoff? Let's see about that.
That'll open up a Gold's Gym somewhere. Is Gold's Gym
sure
still
will.
A thing?
Sure will.
Next up on the list, making their return at the in the pre-show, is Jamie Hayter.
I'm going top heavy here. Going 2.
Okay. Going 2.
Actual difference maker in the Sasha Banks trademarked women's division, but I think an actual difference maker to AEW as a whole. Getting this type of talent back just lengthens your lineup, if you will, to borrow a baseball phrase. So Jamie Hayter too.
All right, let's see if we can actually get you go straight in line. Next up making their return during the Casino Gauntlet match. It is Nigel McGuinness.
I'm gonna go 4.
Dang it.
And I almost went 5, but I'm gonna go 4. Do I say it here or say it later?
We can hold it for later. We'll hold it.
I'll hold it.
We'll hold it. So who I thought you were going to put at number 4 is here. They also made their debut during the Casino Gauntlet match, and that is Ricochet.
I'm gonna go 5.
You don't want to do that, fam.
Oh man,
Too late.
Well, I
you
did
already
it.
said it.
Too late. I already said it blindly. Yeah, I did what I did.
Okay. So that means that by de facto, your number 3 is James Drake, number 1,
Bobby.
Liverpool's number 1. What's his name? Baldy McGee.
Gibson,
Zach Gibson, the grizzled young veterans.
All
They're
right.
your number 3.
Well, got. Oh well.
Yeah, man. I was hoping you were gonna just follow in line. So you Sting, Jamie Hayter, number 1 fan of the grizzled young vets. Marcus at 3.
That's me.
That's you, grizzled young vet himself. Nigel McGuinness at 4. Ricochet at 5. And that brings us to a version of a show we haven't done in a long time that we're now bringing back. I don't care. They didn't pick up the IP. We picked up our IP. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Final Wrestling Place's first try at Viewer's Choice, where we are going to give you the must-watch, the must-skip, and the MVP of AEW All In 2024 London. Marcus, there were a ton of Wembley moments
No, don't say that.
that took place.
Stop. Don't let that take off. Nope.
Wembley moments, baby.
No.
So, do you have the card in front of you for All In?
I don't, but I will.
I can pull it up really quick. I have it right here.
I need to have it up too.
Okay.
All In.
I will read as you pull. So, of course, we open up in the 0 hour with the 16-man tag with Dynamite Kid Jr., Kip Sabian, Rocky Romero, Kyle Fletcher, Leo Rush, Action Andretti, and Top Flight, taking on Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, Anthony Agogo, Arya Davari, Private Party, not Pirate Party, and the Dark Order. Next is a mixed tag match with Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway versus Big Tom and Willow Nightingale, where the winner gets to choose the stipulation for the CMLL Women's World Title match at All Out. Go ahead.
Then we had the Von Erichs with Sammy Guevara and Shibata and Dustin Rhodes taking on the Undisputed Kingdom in the Cage of Agony and 10-man tag team action. And then we started the show proper.
Yep, so we start with the 4-way London Ladders match with the new, I guess it's the newly formed BCC, with Pac and Claudio and Wheeler taking on the Patriarchy, the Bang Bang Gang, and the House of Black.
Then we had our singles match for the AEW Women's World Champion as Mariah May took on Timeless Toni Storm.
To redeem the FTW Championship, Hook looked to chop down the learning tree of Chris Jericho.
We had a 3-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship as the Young Bucks came in as champions and faced the Acclaimed and FTR.
Of course, in that Casino Gauntlet match for the AEW World Championship, we saw OC, Okada, Nigel McGuinness, Cool Kyle, Zack Sabre Jr., Roderick Strong, Mark Briscoe, that Hangman Adam Page, Jeff Jarrett, Ricochet, Christian Cage, and Luchasaurus?
Mm. All right. We had our AEW International Championship match, which they sometimes call the America title, with MJF taking on Will Ospreay, bruv.
In a match that unfortunately we will not be covering on Viewer's Choice due to technical difficulties, for the AEW TBS Championship, Mercedes Moné defended against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
We had a coffin match for the AEW TNT Championship as Jungle Boy Hunter Jack Perry took on Darby Allin.
And of course, the main event, the final countdown match, title versus career, with Birdie and Buddy and Bree front row. It is the American Dragon Bryan Danielson and the 8th AEW World Champion, the realist, Swerve Strickland. Marcus,
Right.
Where do we want to begin?
I have something that I want to begin with, but it's not the best thing on the card.
That's fine.
So
If it's the biggest for you.
It is the biggest for me.
If it is the biggest for you, then make it first.
A lot of talk about restoring the feeling. A lot of talk about getting AEW back to 2021, 2022. For me, nothing was more AEW on this show than the Casino Gauntlet match.
Mm-hmm.
One, I think it's incredibly difficult to come up with a new match type in pro wrestling that works and isn't overly convoluted. You can actually do an elevator pitch for it. Easy. We got a match, 21 guys. They come out at 90 seconds apart, and the match can end at any time by pinfall or submission. Bang. Done. People love surprises. You don't know everybody who's in it. It's great. There's also an inherent surprise. Are you going to get to see everybody who comes out or not? Because the match can end at any time. So there's that. But again, looking at that list of names that you ran down, it was such a testament to not just the relationships that AEW has built and has maintained and improved upon since their inception. It's not just a testament to them becoming a true alternative where guys who work TV and WWE can look at them and say, you know what? I want to go check that out. I'll take that payday. I'll go over there and test myself. But it's about all of these guys that AEW can just kind of trot out on a pay-per-view that they don't have wrapped up in major storylines that get a singles match or a tag match on the show. And it's just how rich with wrestling history this company is. Like, you have Orange Cassidy, AEW guy through and through, right? If you're pointing at, okay, who are the new stars at AEW? OC's been there since the beginning, and we've seen his star blow up, and it's awesome. But the fact that like they have Okada there, and granted, maybe Okada was working at 50%. I'll take it. I love Okada at 0%. Kyle O'Reilly, Zack Sabre Jr., Roderick Strong, Mark Briscoe. It was just like this run of like incredible wrestler after incredible wrestler. Kept going with Hangman Adam Page, another like homegrown AEW guy, but he is such a big star for them. It was like, oh man, business is really picking up with Hangman. Then Jeff Jarrett comes out, the King of the Mountain, the Chosen One, the founder. Incredible. Like how much history he is linked to in wrestling. And he's able to join this fray of like great wrestlers. We get Ricochet. Ricochet, I don't like tiny wrestlers, but I do respect you going back to earlier if you were the best at something. And I think Ricochet has been the best high flyer for quite a while. And I could respect that. And the fact that like he changed up his look a bit. I don't remember Ricochet necessarily looking like that. A little bit of new gear, new wrist tape, trying a couple things, a little fresh coat of paint. Appreciate that. And then we end with Christian Cage and Killswitch, which Christian was like, oh yeah, they have Christian too, just like one of the greatest TV workers of all time. And like his little fingerprints that he would have on matches, you can find on just about any TV match now. Like that's how sneakily influential Christian is as a TV worker. And then you have Luchasaurus, whatever, but like it plays into Christian, into the storyline for a company where one of their biggest knocks is, oh, they don't have storylines. Well, like, boom, just paid off a storyline that they set up earlier in the night and one that's been boiling for whatever, like a year now. I just thought it was such a strong showcase of what AEW can do and what is actually an alternative. If you want to call it a challenge, then it's a challenge. But they did a match with talent that WWE can't do. WWE cannot trot out that kind of roster under any circumstances. They just don't have it. It doesn't exist. So incredible length for AEW there. I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. The Casino Gauntlet match, fantastic. And I remember like watching this match, and we're just, as like more and more people come out, it is a murderer's effing row. Like from the jump, we don't really get our first like even questionable person in the match until the end with Killswitch.
Which is a swerve, bro, because everybody's pumped because he's like, oh, he's going to turn on Christian finally.
Yeah, because if you watch the London ladder match, at the very end, he like leaves in a huff and like has like a little standoff with Christian and then runs out. So much so that even when he makes his debut, the big screen, the Tonytron that says Luchasaurus. So he
the Contron. I don't know why they haven't said that. It's the Contron.
Tony Vision. It's all up there. Luchasaurus comes in, choke slam on Cool Kyle, and dragging the lifeless body of Christian Cage on top of Cool Kyle for the 1, 2, 3. If this match is any inclination, AEW set, man. They have got the horses they can put at the top of the card to contend for a world title, and that doesn't even count all the rest of the people on the card who could not even be in the gauntlet match. Right? Mm-hmm. And the match is exciting. It gives you the spectacle of what the Royal Rumble gives you with the random intervals of people coming in. But it also is must watch because the match could end after one person or two people in the ring. Yep. There was nothing that was stopping Kazuchika Okada from hitting the Rainmaker on Orange Cassidy when it was just the two of them at the start of the match, and they'd have made 19 other people very, very sad. Like, that would have been really cool. And so much so, like, this is must watch for me. I think, without a doubt. I think until further notice, the Casino Gauntlet match will always be must watch.
It was incredibly well executed. Like, talk about matches, how they're being structured, the timing, whatever. This was an A+ start to finish by AEW.
Now, I will say this. We've had 2 of these already within like an 8-week window.
Yeah.
No more. Like, it's got to be special. Make it special. Rotate in your other casino matches. Mm-hmm. Give me the casino battle royale. Give me the casino ladder match. But make this gauntlet really cool. Like, make it super special, right?
Yep.
And can't lose without it, man. For me, the first thing I want to talk about is something that's must skip. And
Oh,
that's Jungle Boy Jack Perry and Darby Allin.
what a weird match.
It was so weird. Like, tell me, like, if you would have told me, hey, one of AEW's most recognizable and unique stars is gonna get his cheeks whipped the whole match, get his feet bound together and his hands bound together, and just unceremoniously closed in a casket. That's it. I just told you the whole match. That was it. And Darby was really cool. He had the Gorilla Glued tacks on his face. Like, that was disgusting. Depending on what you believe from News with a Z outlets, that match was a time cut match. They may have shaved some time off of that match. I don't know. It makes sense. Because to me, that match shouldn't be that flat. It's probably the most flat match that they could possibly have had. There was little to no excitement. There was little to no build up to the finish. It was very shocking. It just felt like it was a vehicle to get Sting out there. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to look a gift Sting in the mouth. Like, bring him on. Send him out. But I guess if anything, this just makes Darby like more primed for something in the future and not to be like beholden to or held on to the TNT title for it.
Yeah.
Because AEW recently has been like really cutesy with like giving somebody an under title and then putting him in a situation for a major title. And then you have to figure out what to do with it. I mean, they just did that with Ospreay winning the international title, then challenging for the world title. Darby does have that number one contendership for the AEW title at Grand Slam coming up. So why win the TNT title? Like, realistically, if he's going to challenge for the world title, he doesn't need the TNT title.
Right.
But go about it a different way. Bring in the Young Bucks. Make it more exciting. Instead,
I don't know, like you're doing a big spot off the stage. Like, what if you just land in the casket?
Yeah. Or how about like the big spot on the cage is you throw Darby Allin into the casket and then the casket falls off the stage. Darby would do it. Like, I don't know if it's like the most safe thing in the world.
It just seemed, it seemed like a match that got time cut, and I'm sure when you have a match like that that's very heavy on spots, it's tough having those things taken out and having a cohesive match. But I mean, this is supposed to be where the best wrestle. You're supposed to make the best of it. It just stuck out like a sore thumb. Yeah, I'm with you. Now, the ending is must watch, because that is where we got the icon.
Is it though?
The franchise. Yeah, man. Sting came out with Metallica, Seek and Destroy, blaring through Wembley Stadium with the bat, whooping up on people. Hata, 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 hata.
There
Hit a
wasn't
double
a lot
scorp dog.
of Hataz.
Bang.
I think you're misrepresenting the number of Hataz we got.
That was with the bat.
Yeah.
Boom.
You're miscounting the number of Hataz.
He hit a double scorpion. Bang. Awesome.
Cool.
Had his bat.
Yeah. Awesome.
Got Darby out.
Fun.
You just said you weren't going to look a gift Sting in the mouth. It seems like you're looking him in the mouth.
I'm not. Look, it's not must watch for me. It was a good added bonus. It was a nice bonus. I will always have room for Sting. It doesn't mean I have to watch. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way. I wouldn't go out of my way to watch old man Sting saunter down the ramp in his dad jeans, walking past his son covered in gasoline in a casket to go into the ring and beat up 3 dudes whose total combined age is his with a baseball bat and double scorpion death drop him, only to then go outside and realize that he left a lawn bag out in the yard and his wife's getting mad. So they go and save his son, right? Like,
That's
was
right.
fun.
You don't love Sting as much as I do.
I do love Sting.
I don't think you do.
It's not must.
Sorry.
Seek and Destroy, awesome. Seeing Sting, awesome. Him beating up the Young Bucks more, no.
Doesn't matter what he's doing. He's there. Must watch.
No.
Yeah.
No. Of all of the uses you could have done with Sting and Darby and Jack Perry and the Young Bucks, this was the most uninteresting, uninspired, and unfun thing you could do with Sting. The only thing I think that's making it must watch for you is the fact that they played Seek and Destroy.
And it's Sting. So yes, that is accurate.
If it was Sting coming out with that real bad Winter is Coming music, it wouldn't have been must watch.
It's Sting.
It is Sting.
Can't play the hypothetical. Sting came out, Seek and Destroy. Perfect. No notes.
Must watch. Not go
must
back.
Watch. All right.
For the exercise we do here, where if you did not watch the pay-per-view, I don't think going and watching Sting make an entrance is must watch.
Yeah, it is. All right.
And I love Sting with my whole heart.
Yeah.
Tell me that Vince McMahon and Bret Hart at WrestleMania was must watch.
Must watch if you're a Bret Hart fan. Yeah.
Was
all right. I have another must watch, and I thought that was the London ladder match.
Okay.
Now the optics were a little weird because I guess they only have 5-foot ladders in London. So weird. Tables a little off. Little thin. But if you just look at like the work of the match and how it was laid out and structured, and again, like the execution and guys taking their time and getting their crowd work in, getting their character beats in, I really enjoyed it, man. Again, like another time you give Brody King the opportunity to stand out, he does. More of that guy. He rocks. Got Claudio a match on pay-per-view with some stakes. That's awesome. More of that, please. You got my main man Pac out there. That's awesome. He's dope. Again, another one of the best wrestlers in the world. Got him a match with some stakes. That's awesome. And Christian. I can complain about Christian. Of course, you got the Bang Bang Gang. Played their part perfectly. Love seeing Wheeler Yuta out there. He's a sweet boy. I really liked it. I thought it was a really fun ladder match. I can say harmless because those things hurt, but like for multi-person ladder matches go, I think you have two of the best multi-person match workers in Claudio and Christian in the same match. So yeah, sign me up for that.
Yeah, man. I did thoroughly enjoy this match. I don't know if I go in the same vein with you as this being must watch either. It was definitely fun. But I don't know if I have much interest in going back and rewatching it. That's what I'm putting that level on, right? Of just rewatchability. Christian played a very great part in this entire match, with being as minimally involved as possible, which was kind of awesome. And they really did utilize all of the pieces correctly. It's a shock to me who won, to be honest.
Yeah.
But as far as like, it's neither must watch nor must skip. To me, it was very like time capsule of the moment, in the moment, type of fun and excitement. I will go back and say something else that was must watch. Technically, not on the pay-per-view card, but Stoke and Big Tom during the pre-show, the mixed tag match, that's must watch. It's it's 8 minutes. It is a ton of fun. The girls are beating each other up. Stoke is being ridiculous. Big Tom is doing Big Tom stuff. It is definitely feel good. All of the good things in life belong to Stokely and Stokely alone. He's the man. Where do you stand on that?
I thought this was awesome. I thought not from like I want everybody to be on the main card standpoint, but from like things that have been on television matching up with the eye test of like how have the matches and stuff been. This should have been on the main show.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, 12 match card, whatever. But like, there's a couple things on here I think you could borrow a couple minutes from and tighten up and make better, and have room for this on the main show. Willow and Stat are, I think, big parts of AEW. Like, if you took either one of them or both of them out of AEW, like I think that's a pretty heavy blow that's going to be felt. I do actively miss them when they are not on TV or they are getting a short amount of TV time. I'm like, the show could have used a Willow match. The show could have used a Statlander match. The show could have used more of them in a segment. I just think they've turned into two good TV workers for that company and two stars. Stoke, awesome, man. Going from like training with him in the butt crack of the ECW arena in like 1,000-degree heat, to see him make it all the way to Wembley Stadium, beating up Big Tom, it's so cool. So happy for him. Happy for everybody involved in the match. Pretty cool. But yeah, this should have been on the main show, and I will give this a must watch. I thought this was fun and enjoyable. I'm going to go ahead and give another must watch to Mariah May and Toni Storm. They kind of got, I guess it kind of went in with like the label of best AEW women's match ever. They just kind of had to, hey, don't have a stinker. And this was a bar they were going to clear. And that's just because of how good the build had been with that angle that we all know about. There might have been some missteps. There might have been a couple extra weeks of TV where there wasn't too much going on with the build. But once you got the match in the ring, I kind of forgot about all that. And it just came down to how good that angle was and to the match at present. And thought they more than delivered. And Mariah being like unhinged, and that kind of gets thrown, that word gets thrown around like a lot in wrestling now to like explain people like, oh, they're wacky, they're unhinged, but like just like popped her mom at ringside for like no good reason. Going over there and smooching Nigel McGuinness at ringside, like that is like true unhinged behavior. And once she gets up in the match after she's been busted open and she's like kind of enjoying the blood a little bit, like that is unhinged behavior. Like that's really good stuff for her and her character that's going to continue to separate her. Yeah, man, I'm buying Mariah May stock. whatever Tony Storm does next, I'm going to be interested in. I'm going to be watching. But yeah, this delivered. This exceeded expectations, I thought, and gets the must watch for me, brother.
Yeah, it exceeds expectations because of the fact that they were very. It seemed that the feud had cooled down from the apex of its heat. And they wrestled the match as if that cooldown period never happened. Shout out to Mrs. Mariah May's mom. That was a cool injection for her. Luther played his part. Amazing. Salute to you. But Tony and Mariah killed it, man. So good. It's probably on par of like top 5 women's match in AEW history.
Okay.
And it's crazy to me because like the other ones that I can think of is like the Blood and Guts with Britt and Thunder Rosa. Or not Blood and Guts, but the Blood and Guts inspired.
The Lights Out match.
The Lights Out match. The women's tag with Tay Conti and Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford and
Anna Jay.
Anna Jay was on Tay's team.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I forget who Penelope Ford.
The bunny.
Was it the bunny? Okay.
The bunny.
Yep. They crushed it. That was an awesome match. Willow and Stat, there was the Willow and Ruby versus
Willow and Stat versus Ruby and I can't remember who else was out there.
Was it Soraya?
But that was.
It wasn't Tony Storm.
I can't remember.
Yeah, but like it's a short list. There's a real short list, and if you go into one-on-one matches, it's even shorter, right? So there's definitely a jumping off point for the AEW Women's Division, especially now that Jamie Hayter's back. That is definitely a breath of fresh air for the company for the women's division, especially since. And we're not going to talk about it on this podcast because we did not watch it. Unfortunately, we did have technical difficulties during the pay-per-view. Fortunately for us, during the match, we really didn't want to see Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker DMD. However, based on all accounts that I've read, seen, heard from, this is possibly the most must-skip of the must-skips. Right? Like, have you heard anything redeemable about this match?
No, I have not.
I mean, corgis are cute. If you have anything, corgis are cute. Is there anything else for you that's must watch aside from the obvious 2 matches that we have not talked about yet?
No.
Okay. So do you want to do Ospreay MJF first, or do you want to do Danielson Swerve?
Let's do Ospreay MJF.
Okay.
I wasn't planning on discussing this.
No?
No.
It's not must watch for you?
I really like Will Ospreay.
Right. I think I think Max did his part. I think that the match was really good. It does take 2 to tango. For everybody who like just doesn't understand Will Ospreay, like that are questioning the Assassin's Creed stuff, that you think that I saw one person who was like, is Tony Khan hurting for money that he has to do this Assassin's Creed cutover? Like it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, look at Will Ospreay. Okay. Look at him. take note of his moves and the things he does, okay? He is the aerial assassin. He has the stupid Assassin's Creed logo tattooed on his body, and one of his finishing moves is named after the little stupid dagger that comes out of Ezio's arm to assassinate people, the hidden blade. Like, if you didn't follow along and you didn't do your prerequisite homework, that doesn't mean you get to talk out of turn. Very much like the person from the fantasy football draft who wants to make cute little comments because they don't have the full story. No. This was a cool deal. It was a big deal for AEW. It was a big deal for Will Ospreay. It was super fun. It honestly makes me... I have not bought an Assassin's Creed game in a long time. I will be buying this one mainly because of how excited I was to see like all of the incorporation with it and the brand marketing across the table. I thought the match was structurally good. Everything is great. I'm glad the American title is gone. I'm glad the international title is back. I'm not excited to see Glory Hound Christopher Daniels on my television screen at all. Dumpster diving for the title. Like, no. But Ospreay back on top as international champion. Super cool. For me, it's must watch, but I understand if you have MJF fatigue and it's not for you. So it gets us to the world title. And I think that of all of the voices on the soon-to-be-named network, and this isn't an aside, this is not meant to be to downplay or down talk the other two wrestling shows on the network. They are going to cover this match amazingly. They will give it its flowers, and we will too. Don't get us wrong. This match was awesome. It was prime storytelling through and through. But for us, the wrong guy won. Is that right? Like,
yeah, it is. I get the moment. I'm not going to be mad that Bryan Danielson is world champion ever.
Right.
All right.
I can't be mad that the American Dragon Bryan Danielson is AEW world champion.
Right. It was well done. It was a fantastic match. Yada, yada, yada. But for me, right now, AEW, Swerve is my guy. Swerve is my guy. And I just can't stand... I can't stand by a defeat. Yeah, I would have been real interested in the other outcome. And then like for the presser, for it to be so heavy-handed after the fact of like, well, what's Bryan gonna do? Like he might still retire. Like I am getting fatigued of all this. It's not for me. It probably doesn't help that Bryan Danielson's not my guy. Again, maybe the best wrestler in the world right now. No debate for me. One of the best wrestlers of all time. No debate for me. But emotionally, that's not my guy. I got no emotional connection. Can't relate. If I'm watching a live pro wrestling match, he is 1,000% going to suck me in. Absolutely. But this wasn't for me. Yeah. Amazing match. But like the moment, all that stuff. Yeah. I would have been more interested in a Swerve win.
Right.
But they hit everything perfectly. Like within the course of the match, Swerve can't win. Right? Like there's things that Swerve does where it's like, okay, he can't win.
And
but
even then, like
I'm gonna,
yeah, like even
I'm
then,
just if I'm forgetting that wrestling is fake, that like I'm still like, yeah, I want him to win.
Right, like even though he does certain things that make you question, like make you go, oh, he can't win. He's still, at least to me, in spite of all of that, was like, he's going to win. And I go back to that first like real big falsie, right? Not falsie, but like the first big Swerve is up on Danielson. And then Danielson hits Swerve with I forget what he hit him with. And Swerve just gets up and just brushes him off.
I think he hit him with the knee.
Okay, the first knee. But that
Yeah,
was
I think so.
that was after like a couple of house calls, right?
Yeah.
Like Swerve had like lit him up. And then Danielson fights out and like catches him with the Psycho knee the first time. And Swerve just gets up like a villain in a movie. Or like, to me, he gets up like a Dragon Ball Z villain. He gets up like a superhero villain where the heroes hit, like they think they have the ultimate way to stop the big bad and they unleash their big attack. And the guy just goes, no, actually, you need to do better than that. Right? And to me, it was like, oh, yeah, Swerve, baby, let's go. I will go so far as to say I do like the injection of Hangman Adam Page in this match. I'm also glad that it was not the main reason why Swerve lost the title. Like, especially with all of the layers of storytelling that they were doing. For Danielson to avoid retirement because Swerve lost his focus and focused on Hangman and Dragon immediately beats him. That to me is saltwater taffy. Is not good. Now, it being a turning point for Daniel, or for Bryan Danielson, and Bryan still had to earn it the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely cool. So much so that I think Swerve does have a point to go after Hangman, because it made Swerve take his eye off of his objective even for a moment, and before he could refocus back in, Danielson put enough stuff together to string in the label lock, and then the Zack Sabre Jr. inspired extra grab of an arm to
grab everything and pull
and just pray, right? This is definitely must watch. It's a great AEW World Title match. It's not the ending Marcus and I were looking for, but that's okay. That doesn't necessarily make it not must watch.
Doesn't mean the ending wasn't great. It was a great ending.
Great ending. Super fun to see the in-ring stuff where Bryan Danielson threatens to like Tiger Driver his son in the middle of the ring. That was kind of cool to watch, like from the live camera feeds, or the ringside camera feed, or cameras being cell phone cameras still being on during the show.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about two things that happened on the show.
Okay.
So one we kind of just talked about with Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is with Nigel McGuinness. So I want to know where you are at with his return, because I will go first, and I will say I fully recognize that from like 2004 to like 2008, 2009, he was in the conversation. He was in the grouping of best wrestler in the world.
Yes.
And I recognize that his peers of that era are Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson, who again go into that bucket of personal greatest of all time. And so that was his peer group, not people that were better. Like, he was equals with them for that whole run of time,
and better in some regards too. There was a time where he was number one.
Right. So to me, again, Nigel McGuinness was never my guy, much like Bryan Danielson. was never my guy. So part of me kind of feels like just because this show was so heavy on Bryan and Danielson's not my guy. And then like the big surprise of the night was Nigel McGuinness coming back in London. And again, not my guy. I feel like I'm kind of missing something. It's almost the everybody else got a snow day, but I didn't get a snow day effect. Like, I still got to go to school.
I have your answer.
Okay, so where are you at?
What we experienced at the Casino Gauntlet match with Nigel McGuinness is the inverse for you of what we experienced at the Royal Rumble when Edge came back. Edge is your guy. And he had his career taken from him due to injuries and outside things. And he comes back and it's a big emotional beat. He is a milestone, keystone part of that Rumble match. And while there are a ton of people like us who cried and are huge Edge heads for Edge returning at that Rumble, there are many dudes who are also in the soon-to-be-named network and are in our Discord that are like, oh, Edge is back. Cool. Not for me. I don't see the big deal. Edge isn't my guy. This is the exact same thing. Nigel had his career taken from him before he was ready for it to be done. He got cleared. He appeared at home in Wembley for a chance at the AEW World title, just like the Royal Rumble is. And the fans loved it. Those who followed Nigel loved it. Those who were obsessed with Ring of Honor at the time loved it. Much like Edge, Nigel McGuinness was in the best effing shape of his life. Chicken, rice, Nutella. Like, they're there.
I like really big, bloated Nigel where he's like 285, Larian and people. Right. That's the Nigel I like. But yeah, I get you. He's cut up, ripped to shreds,
he's older now. He
good.
Can't carry that
I got you.
He's not Randy Orton. He can't carry that much mass, okay?
Looking good.
Right. He looked great. He had abs. He was tan. He had a good haircut. He had fresh gear. It was cool. And like, it was cool for me. I love Nigel. Nigel was awesome. And it was really fun to see him play the beats. We got Tower of London. We got Jawbreaker Lariat. We got the Artful Dodger. We got the upside down corner deal. We got the entrance song. Yeah. Which, again, Joe said it. Joe said it during our time together. It's like, wrestling existed more than 5 years ago. Dude, please go watch some wrestling. Stop questioning Nigel McGuinness's music. Effing in the Bushes is his theme. It was his theme when he was Height of Powers. So stop it. And don't tell me he's Desmond Wolfe. It ain't Desmond Wolfe. That's Nigel McGuinness, okay? Even though I made the Desmond Wolfe
that purple
joke.
Though. He was wearing the purple though. That's a Desmond Wolfe color.
Desmond Wolfie, baby. So that, to me, that's the analogy. That's the player comp.
Okay.
One person's Edge is another person's Nigel McGuinness. One person's Royal Rumble is another person's Casino Gauntlet match. Does this mean I want to see Nigel McGuinness become a regular wrestler on the show? Absolutely not. But do I now actually want to see Nigel McGuinness gets his hands on that clam digger Bryan Danielson before the final countdown is over? Is there a space for that in AEW? Without question. There is an absolute place for Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson for the AEW World Title, or even not for the title. In AEW,
I'd rather not.
Not for the title, or not at all.
I'd rather. They can have the one-on-one match, whatever, but I'd rather not for the title.
Even if it's for the title, I mean, that the only thing is if it's for the title, it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Right. But that hasn't stopped AEW before putting title matches together, right? Like, look at the Okada Claudio Continental title match that they put on Dynamite like last week. That's a foregone conclusion match. But there's still some disbelief you can suspend and go from there. Is there anything else from? Yeah.
Oh God, I was just gonna overall, like I was good. I didn't have anything else to add, so I was just gonna ask overall. You giving it the must watch or must skip?
Overall, man, All In is special. All In's their big show. All In's their WrestleMania. Tons of Wembley moments. Hey, they said it, not me.
Nope, doesn't make it okay.
Yeah, it does. That's why teams are named Team Blank. That's why this is a Wembley moment. I think there's definitely more good than bad on this show. Therefore, it gets the must watch for me. There are definitely parts I'd skip around and not watch. Remember, if we didn't talk about the match here, that doesn't necessarily mean it was bad or it was good. It just wasn't really anything remarkable. Who's your MVP of the night?
Ooh, yeah, I should have thought about that a little bit more. I'm gonna go Swerve.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Swerve because for, again, what was a foregone conclusion match, as you are saying, like, I think that phrase probably applies for a lot of people for Danielson and Swerve.
Mm-hmm.
But for there to be genuine moments in that match, not just moments, stretches of that match, where I was like, oh, Danielson's losing. Cool. Takes a lot to pull that off. So I'm going to give it to Swerve. He needed to be the most hated man in that stadium, and he was. Yeah, I really appreciate what we got from Swerve as champ. I hope we get more sooner rather than later. But yeah, he's my MVP. What about for you, Mr. Tim?
For me, it's all about Mariah. Mariah May's my MVP. She absolutely killed it. Stepped up huge. The women's division is now hers for the taking, and I'm ready to go on the ride. Is there anything else from All In weekend that you want to cover? I know the press conference was a bit of a hot button item for some people. I didn't know if we wanted to talk about that at all, or we just let a sleeping dog lie.
I just think that
poor
questions really
poor
stink.
question asking, and
people, because you have a podcast, you have a website, whatever. Maybe you've done a journalism before in your life, but wrestlers are people, but they're also wrestlers, like a one of a kind, special species of athlete and entertainer. Stop asking stupid questions about like legacy. Like, you know who gets to think about legacy? Bryan Danielson. Okay. People in their 20s, people in their 30s aren't thinking about legacy. You know what they're thinking about? Getting pizzade, getting something to eat, hitting the Strizip Klizub, and getting to the next town. Stop asking stupid questions at this thing. That's what's bothering me. And then I guess it's like us being, I don't know, old, but not that old yet.
Yeah.
Like youngs for being old.
Yeah.
These Gen Z kids are like built different, and wrestling is work for them. It is work. So when you ask a question with Gen Z, you're most likely going to get a direct answer. So yeah, you got direct answers from the younger people at the press conference. Shouldn't be surprised. You ask a stupid question, you ask a question that doesn't really have a lot of meat on the bone, you're going to get an answer. Kayfabe question, kayfabe answer. I think that applied for pretty much everybody throughout the night. There's a whole weird Sasha Banks question. Like, that was a poorly thought out question, but I think also the reaction online is just, I don't know. Just, yeah. Like, yeah, a man probably wouldn't get that question, but she's also the person who went out and made a big deal publicly about it on the debut of her podcast, right? So I get it being within the scope to ask about. It was just a really bad question to ask with really no point.
Well,
like, yeah, he should get murdered for, not actually murdered, but like he should get bullied for asking such a bad question. There is no, like, you just say like, oh, you recently opened up about a very personal hardship that you were going through that experience. Is there anything that you could take that and apply to you now? Or is there anything that you can say to somebody else who might be going through a hardship right now?
That was the question.
Like,
that was the exact question he asked. His question was not
to the point.
Well, it wasn't to the point because Sasha or Mercedes tried to disarm him and tried to assume where the question was going to go. He asked the question. He asks, you recently talked about a very personal moment. He goes, and she immediately tries to disarm him and goes, well, I don't want to date you. Because she thinks he's going the you're newly single route. Let's talk about it. And then he's like, I've actually been married 9 years, but getting back to my question, what kind of advice would you give somebody who may be in your same shoes? That was his question. And then somehow Mercedes found a way to, within the stretch of 5 minutes, congratulate him for being married for 9 years and then threaten that he was going to divorce his wife from the answer to the question.
That part was funny.
Sometimes it's not the interviewer's problem. Sometimes it's the person who's answering the question's problem. And for everybody who says they want better results and better responses from these wrestlers during the press conferences, you need to give me all of the bad. Don't cherry pick the bad. Don't pick the bad from the people you don't like. Pick the bad from the people that you do like too. Mercedes eviscerated a guy for no reason. Was it a poor question? Was it a poor question? Yes. Did she have to make it that personal? Yes, she's a heel. But are these kayfabe? Or are these supposed to be real?
And that's what people, I think, need to make up their mind.
Because
again,
they
if
can't.
you want to, you ask a kayfabe question, get a kayfabe answer. You ask a personal question, even if it's public info and it's public knowledge, well, yeah, you're probably going to get a personal answer, whether that is being disarmed or whether that is being spoken to abruptly, whatever the case is. There's just, people need to learn how to talk to wrestlers. I think that's what I'm trying. That's the meat I'm trying to get to. You need to learn how to talk to wrestlers.
I'll go one further. People need to remember how to talk to people.
Yes, in general.
A lot of the interpersonal conversations that people have with technology, and COVID didn't help either. Like, we have lost the art of face-to-face communication.
Yeah. But even so, looking in at wrestling,
Specifically wrestling,
there's a lot of questions that you might ask or hear be asked of other athletes or on red carpet interviews. And yes, those people are in the entertainment field. They're in the athletic field. Wrestling's a different monster, unique in and of itself. Learn how to talk to wrestlers. Not my job to teach anybody how to do that, but like figure it out. If you're going to be an expert in the field, if you're going to try to profit off of the field, if you're going to try to turn that into dollars without taking a bump, I don't know, maybe just learn how to be better and learn how to interact with these people and how to get actual answers out. Somebody brought up a question about the FTW title to Hook, and he actually gave a cool story and dove in a little bit. Why? Because he got asked a decent question. So yes, he gave a little bit more.
That question was probably one of the worst questions. I think Hook did a good job in salvaging that question by giving a nice personal story about the origins of the FTW title in AEW. Because if you remember, before that, Tony Khan went on a 5-minute tirade about how the FTW title is not a joke.
Well, I can't remember if that was before or after.
It was before.
Yeah, I know that was all. That was all on the same.
Tony jumped in and said the title's not a joke. It's one of the most prestigious titles, blah, 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 blah. And he gives the lineage without giving the lineage. And then Hook goes, oh, also as an aside, I flew the title in for the first appearance of it at Daly's place. So it's like, okay, now there's actually, after getting chewed out for having my question misconstrued, I now also get a really cool aside story that I can use for my publication or my podcast or whatever.
Right.
So,
but at least the question was like, basically, hey, this belt that is pretty much your belt, is this going to become a bigger part of?
Is it going to become a sanctioned AEW title?
Right, is what he was looking for.
Right,
and
those aren't the words he used.
Right, but of the questions that were asked of Hook, it's probably one of the better questions that was asked. That doesn't make it a good question, but it was one of the better questions asked. Right. The bar is so low, and it is continually not met at these things. So, yeah, I don't know. Ask wrestlers about like training, or like, hey, what are you into right now? Or like, who do you ride with? Or what are you doing when you get home? I don't know. Got any perks? Something.
Who's your steroid guy?
What'd you have in catering? Who'd you watch the other matches with? I think another thing that could happen in these press conferences, here I am teaching people how to talk to wrestlers. Pick out something that, again, like most people don't have the trained eye for, but like if you watch enough wrestling, you'll probably tell when something is like, huh, that seemed organic, or huh, that didn't seem planned for. If you can pick out like one of those moments, or like an actual reaction or moment that happens, it's not like super planned for and choreographed and like a big WrestleMania production to do about it. If you can pick up on something like that and then ask somebody about like something that happened spur of the moment in the match, you will get a really good answer, like 10 times out of 10. If somebody wants to talk about how the sausage is made, you will get a good answer 10 times out of 10.
You can even do it. So I personally, for me, I think all of these press conferences need to be kayfabe. You need to talk to them as the character they just portrayed on the event you just watched. And I know wrestling is this weird hybrid mix of real people being characters. It just so happens that the real person and the character look exactly the same, and they act mostly the same, and everything is like very, very similar. It's not like if you ran into Robert Downey Jr. on the street, you're not going to run up to him and go, oh my God, it's Iron or it's Tony Stark. And you're asking him all of these Tony Stark questions. Like, it's Robert Downey Jr. who played Iron Man, but he also played all these other people too. Whereas with wrestling, the character and the person are so similar that people, the journalists who are at these press conferences are focused on asking the personal questions because they're trying to get in. They're trying to worm their way in. Where, going to a point that you were making about like how other journalists talk to other athletes, it is very common in a press conference for a journalist of high clout who watched the game that just took place go, hey, LeBron, take us back to the end of the first half where you guys are down by this much. What's your thought process going into the final 45 seconds of the half, right? Because that was a big swing moment for you. You can ask questions like that, like for example, to to Hook. Hey, we noticed that halfway through the match, you pulled the eye patch off and you had full faculties of your eyes. What was your mindset going into the match, knowing that you were going to try to lure Jericho into a false sense of security with only having one eye? And why did you choose the time that you did to unveil your eye and make it known that you weren't at a disadvantage? And then Hook can go off that.
Mm-hmm.
Hook can riff. Instead of, when do you want the AEW title? I don't know. Whenever they give it to me.
Right. Whatever my name's underlined. Like, what kind of a stupid question is that?
Well, the question.
Like, you think he has any?
I like the question if it's going to the character. Hook, now that you've just regained the FTW title, when is it time for you to change your sights and go for the AEW World title? And his response was short, sweet, to the point, and the most Hook response you could have gotten, which was sooner rather than later. Like, obviously, I want to be champ right now. So do it. Perfect. You're sitting next to the guy who wants to hear people say they want the ball and they're going to run with it. Hook's one of your youngest stars. Yeah. I want to hear the young, fired up kid say he wants to go punch American Dragon right in the effing face and take the title and be the FTW and the world champ. Just like his old man did.
I just hate that question because, like, you can ask that to everybody and you're going to get the same exact answer from everybody. Like, who's going to say, like,
Correct.
oh, you know what?
Correct.
I don't know if right
Unless
now I
it's
want to
the
be
champion.
AEW champ. Like, yeah. And then I hate the question, the champion, like, oh, who do you want to face now that you're champion? Like, who do you want to fight next? Like, I don't, like, why would I want to fight?
Whoever
like, why would I
Tony
want to
Khan
work?
feeds
like,
me.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'll find out in a tweet, like, who I'm facing. Like, that's how wrestlers usually find out what they're doing. So, like, I don't know. Find out in a tweet. Like,
right.
It's just stupid. Just stupid questions. So,
yeah.
Anyways, that's enough. All In. I'm all out of All In. Looking forward to All Out in a couple weeks. What else we got to talk about?
Did you have any weekly purchases?
No purchases for me. I keep eyeing up some figs at Ringside Collectibles. You know what? Scratch that. I did have a weekly purchase. A buddy of mine hit me up, asked me if I still needed the Rodney the Piper Monday Night War Ultimate Edition fig. So that came today.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. Really good fig. Aside from 1992 or like 91, 92 Piper with the long hair, this icon woven on Piper is probably like
Gaelic
my favorite.
Speaking.
Yeah.
Hip seizure.
Yeah. Look at that hip replacement. Yeah.
Pulling your pants
Metal
down
hip.
on Bill Maher.
Well, how'd you get the job? Yeah. I like this. That's my second favorite Piper. So I now have 3 Pipers, despite not being a big Piper guy. But I have 3. So
I have 2.
Yeah.
Well, technically, I
should
have
be good.
one. I have one, and then I have his They Live figure.
Okay. Yeah.
So I got Piper and I got They Live. No, because I have Thunder. I have Rip. I have NWO Terry. I have Hollywood Terry, and I've got Rip from No Holds Barred. I do not have 3 bad Terrys. I have 2 and a Rip.
Yeah, whatever you gotta tell yourself.
Yep.
Did you buy anything this week?
Not that I recall, Your Honor.
Right.
I know I thought I was pulling the trigger on something. I didn't pull the trigger on it. Cool. Actually, that's a lie. I jumped into the MMA Shark, the card break.
Oh.
I did a little jump ski in for Big E on the Immaculate cases. Unfortunately, the break took place during the recording of this podcast, so I'll know what I got in the mail in a couple of days.
That's a good surprise.
Hopefully, I got a hit. Brett, don't tell me. I just want to get it and see. So we'll get it, and I got a fair price. Dude's great. So much fun. Anything else from the weekend that was before we call it here?
I have to give a shout out to my prize pack for winning the We Need Wrestling G1 Open Invitational. They knocked it out of the park. I got the Hart Foundation Bojangles Cup.
Heck yes.
Which is, of course, is the one that I want.
Crown jewel.
And the last time I was around a Bojangles, they didn't have it when I looked, and I didn't have the time, nor would it be a good idea for my body to have the Bojangles with what I needed to do a little bit later. So that wasn't really an option. So I've got the cup now. That's huge. Inside the cup was an autographed Don Morocco card. A thing of beauty.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely love it. And then possibly the crown jewel of everything. It's the King Mabel Fig, the SummerSlam Elite line. What a beauty. What an absolute beauty this figure is. I've got it on display as I head up the steps. It's on my fig wall, but it's the last one as you get up the stairs / the first one you see coming down. So it's right in the eye line, the site of the eye line site, going up and coming down. So he's got the prime real estate. Couldn't be more thrilled. So thank you guys for my prize pack. I told them there, but I don't know how they're going to top themselves next year when I run it back. But that's next year's problem. So thank you guys.
Or they'll have to figure out how to way to make it up for the first winner. And when I win it in non-consecutive years, like Mr. Hitman winning the King of the Ring in 2 out of 3 years, maybe you could give me 1.5 prize packs. I'm kidding. I'm looking a gift horse in the mouth. I don't care. I'm just happy to be there. Fun times all around.
You left your gift, pal.
I didn't know it was a gift. Here, let the apology always be louder than the offense. At soon to be named Network North, there was a conversation that was had about the Fozzy album Happenstance. DJ happened to have a copy of it with a hilarious inscription that I cannot say in 2024 in good conscience. But it was shown to me, and I was like, oh, cool. This is really cool. I didn't know you had this album, and I didn't know that it was a gift. I didn't gather that it was a gift because I didn't say, oh, cool, I want that. And I didn't hear DJ go, oh, you can have it. I didn't hear that. But I apologize for leaving a gift at the compound
To be the heat magnet.
I didn't do anything.
We're gonna go back to Tom real soon.
Unbeknownst to me, I did something.
Unbeknownst to you. Well, yeah, we had an awesome weekend, even with the left gifts. But yeah, man, is that it?
That's everything. Do you have anything to plug?
No, I do not.
All right. Well, then, soon to be named network.tumblr.com, at STBNN on net. Woo, baby. It is late. At STBN Network on Twitter, soon to be named network.tumblr.com. Those are your spots to catch everything that happens on the network, including, if you're listening as this is released, also check out Wings on Wings. Drops on Tuesdays on the network, wherever you get your podcast, at _Wings on Wings on all social media. Soon to be at Odds with Wrestling, We Need Wrestling, Longbox Heroes. Join the Longbox Heroes Pigskin Pick'em. Try to beat me and Marcus and Joe and everybody else that's on the network that's there. So much fun. If you want to follow us on social media, you can, at Not the Tool Man for me, at The Wrestling Speakeasy for Marcus, if you know, you know, at TNM Shows on Twitter, at Final Wrestling Place on Instagram. We will be back here next week to talk Bash in Berlin, plus all the happenings of TV, the initial fallout from from All In, the lead up to All Out, and so much more. But right now, Marcus, all that's left is to tell the people goodbye.
Bye, boys.